One ingredient that's clear to me is I'm very honest. I mean, I don't shade the truth. There are many subjects I would not put into my books because they're disturbing to kids, and maybe they're even disturbing to me. But what it is they get from my books is precisely what I put into it. You got to remember where it all begins, with the word. So every innuendo, every change, every harmonic coloring, whatever, it's what the sentence has told you to do. And then it all came to consciousness 2 years ago in Los Angeles when I saw something, kid on the street or a person on the street. I only saw his or her feet sticking out of a cardboard box. And I thought, we are all in the dumps. And it just began to build inside me emotionally. This is where dumps really took place. This is where it is. Back in the 40s and 50s, there were theories about, when you did a book for children, what kind of pictures they should be. They should be very vivid and big and bright because kids can only look. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Because they're as complicated, they're more complicated, they're more varied than we are. The original conception of the pictures has to do with language. I wouldn't have thought of this without that poem. And once I got the first line, and I saw the first line, I saw feet in a box. If you get the first line, chances are you'll get the second. And it's a tricky verse because the second line, we're all in the dumps for diamonds or trumps. The kittens are gone to St. Paul's. And then somewhere there was a baby that had to get bitten. And somewhere the moon had to have a nervous breakdown. And somewhere there had to be houses without walls. And here is We Are All in the Dumps. In 1963, I did a dummy. It's got a crying cat because we know there are kittens in it. And this is my first little sketch for the book. They're playing bridge straight off, and everybody is miserable except the rat, that's Winnie. I actually did the illustrations line by line. The babies are bit. The original line in the verse, by the way, is the babies are bit. I changed it to the baby is bit because I wanted one baby, which is dramatic. The moon's in a fit because the rat has hit it with an arrow and the houses are built without walls. I didn't know what to do. These are cute. I just didn't know what to do. Jack and Guy's a little better because actually he still has a Dickens hat. I really kept the original costume from this. I go out on the ride with my old dog Jenny, so you can tell how old this book is because she died in '67. She appeared in all my books up to her death. They find a little boy. It's Jenny that finds a little boy. And he's got a black eye. And Jack wants to knock him on the head, and Jenny's getting mad. And she bites him, which is just what she would have done. Guy says, let's buy him some bread. They go to the bakery. And this is the part I really like. This is the one moment I like, is they buy all this tons of bread. They have a little house. They bring the kid home, and all they do is stuff him with food, which is, I will bring him up as other folk do. And the kid's just overawed. He's getting fat, and he can't stand it. So he abandons them and goes back to live by himself in the rye. That was the only little twist that was original to me, that the kid dumps them. And there's January 22nd, 1965, when both of these were finished. It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't do the verses any justice. I mean, I'm trying to do something for my good by being an artist. And art is a pleasure in all many ways, and one of them is therapeutic, is that it releases stuff from yourself. It is totally miraculous that it has meaning to anybody else, since you cannot build that into the work. You cannot count on that to happen. You cannot trust that to happen. When it happens, you're a lucky man. Kids are not fools or hypocrites. I don't care what the book one, who the artist is. If it's a bore, it's a bore. But when they take it in, it's almost like radar vision. They take in everything very fast. Everything is new. Everything is fresh and glorious, and it's not been seen before. It's not been experienced before. We don't even know what the name of it is. So that the kids will get it. I think what is being inferred here is that it is so much to do with contemporary life in America, which apparently, and it's true, that hasn't been my subject. Although Max in Wild Things is contemporary life in America too. But this is more overtly that way. You see the kids living in poor hovels. So it seems to have a more social dynamic in terms of why it would appeal to a wider range of people. And largely because over the years, although I never set myself out to be a children's book writer or illustrator, I have such enormous respect for kids as an audience, and I prefer them as an audience. So that in fact, if that's where the work is going, that's okay. Most creative things do bypass the brain, which is our salvation. And that's how I judge them. I simply judge them by how I respond to them. My hope comes from the fact that I can work, which is a purely egotistical, selfish impulse. If then that translates into something that other people get hope from and enjoy, that's a miracle. That's just amazing. It always is amazing. That's more amazing than the people who come down on me. You'll have to call that hope.
There's going to be some wonderful dialogue that goes on around that book, some wonderful wondering, making inferences. So I think the possibilities are kind of endless. I think Maurice would probably be the first to say that there's a lot of darkness in children's lives, and that's why they respond so powerfully to those images.
It's very overtly political, and while his work's always been subtly political, this is just in your face. You know, you have to deal with it straight up without going looking for the messages.
I think that, of course, people will just be stimulated, just drawn to the book and just naturally do that. And especially if you're familiar with his work, you'll have a very powerful, strong response to it.
It scared the bejesus out of me the first time I saw it, but I think it will scare the bejesus out of more parents than it will children. And I think it's a wonderful book. I think it's the great work of his career. I think it has the best artwork he has ever done. It has no holds barred, and I think it's a great work of art of our time. Like Guernica was a great work of art of Picasso's at the time of the Spanish Civil War. I think this is a great work of art of this part of the century, which is a terrible century and a terrible part of the century.
Jack and Guy is such an unusually different book for you, Maurice. What prompted you to create this book?
I went back to my journals about dumps, because every time I tell what happened, I tell a different version of it. So I figured I should get the proper version. And the very first journal entry is June 16th, 1991, for a Sunday. And it says, among other things, the beginning of dumps proper. Intrigued with Child City in Rio, kids abandoned in shantytown. I connected the kids wandering around in a town all by themselves without any parental guidance, put it mildly, dumps.
Did you have a special purpose for this book, a special idea in mind for it?
Well, it is the same story I've been telling for most of my life in publishing. I only have one theme. My cleverness comes in disguising it so well it doesn't appear to be so noticeable. But it's about children surviving. I mean, how do kids get through? And that's always been the subject of my books. Kids getting through an experience which is beyond them logically and emotionally, and just clumsily getting through it. That's what this is about too.
I wondered if you saw parallels between the New York of today and Dickens' London.
I mean, most of my 20s and 30s was spent reading all the novels of Dickens. And of course, he was the master of putting children in the most dreadful spots imaginable, and sometimes killing them off. It got so rough that he killed them off. But yes, I mean, there's a very Oliver Twist, and there's even homage to Oliver Twist, because why in hell's name is Jack wearing a stovepipe hat? I mean, why? No one seems to notice. His costume is all wrong. But that's because of Dickens. He's a Dickens kid who came to live in this family. It's Fagin's kids. They are Fagin's kids. And even those kids felt in a family. Whatever Fagin was doing to them and with them, at least there was a place to go, place to come home to. So it is homage to Dickens, yeah.
So many of your books have a comforting, dreamlike quality about them. I'm concerned that some parents, some reviewers, some adults, some buyers are going to pick this up and see a kind of nightmare vision. Some of it is very dark and possibly off-putting. How would you respond to them?
They're always expecting that from me. I've never done a book past the age of 23, which is, as you described, comforting, soft, those words you use. I am now controversial. No matter what book I do, the automatic button goes on, controversy. Since 1963, that's been my fate. I used to rebel against it, but there's nothing you can do about it. So they expect something to be inappropriate for children in everything I do. It's almost their first sentence when they're reviewing the book. Is this appropriate for children? So there's nothing I can do about that. Part of the problem is that we're working in this strange business called children's books, which is ringed round with the most incredible antiquated taboos imaginable as to what is right and what is wrong for children. It goes back to the 19th century, to Kate Greenaway. It's nonsense. It's, again, based on what we spoke of earlier, this incredible assumption that kids don't know these things and that monsters like me come and give them boogeymen and nightmares, you know? When I'm saying all along that, of course they know about these things, and they draw comfort from the adults who tell them we know they know. It's good for them to know we know. That's been my point of view all from the beginning. So I will have this discussion about this book ad nauseum. I'm prepared for it.
I don't know what we can do to introduce something that's so multi-layered.
You have to trust the kids.
Yeah.
Just have to let them take it on or not take it on. Come back to it or not come back to it. You have to treat them the way we do adult readers who want to read a book or do not want to read a book.
What is the profile, the mindset of the individual who you would like most to read this book?
Oh, wow. That's a fantasy. Somebody who's incredibly open-minded, somebody who isn't racist, somebody who already has a sense of what troublesome days these are, especially for children. We all talk about doing something for children in this country. We hardly make a move towards doing it. Read about it in the paper every day, right? The administration is going to do this, the administration is going to do that. Nobody's done anything for children. Still fighting to get that crap off Saturday television. Still fighting for everything they've been fighting for 40 years or more. So I would like all these people to come to this and say, this is the opposition to all that junk. This is for the kids. Hope I live long enough to see these people, the kids who are getting this now, see them older and see what it meant to them. This is a fantasy story where I have to give these kids courage because I need it, and I want them to survive.